All right, there we go. Yeah, and you can too, Yusuf, if you want, just to have redundancy. But we created the Skool community because everyone has their own thing going on with jujitsu. Everyone has their own path, and with that, I'm not a believer in that you have to be this high level practitioner to have some sort of value of input to the community because everyone has their own style, everyone has their own life experiences, everyone has their own natural born instincts that bring their own methodology, their own kind of recipe, if you will, into jujitsu. But with that, it's like you take the high level guys because they have a path and they've really dialed into how to explain and how to connect their theories and philosophies and principles to help develop people's instincts. Because as everyone may know, some people, man, on their trial lesson, they've never taken a lesson one day, no lessons in their life. But it's like, wow, you're really good. You've never taken a lesson? No, I just watch it. But their instincts are good. And I think collectively, if you've been around, you've kind of noticed a lot of these new guys coming in for trials, man, their instincts are really, really good. And it's because of all the stuff that's out there right now. And I think one of the, to me, in my path, in my world, one of the authorities, and this is a Javi Vazquez, and I'm really honored to be his, not only just kind of be mentored by him, but actually be a friend. I consider him a friend. He's like extended family, and he's definitely my jujitsu family. And I take this opportunity to give these people that have influenced me and who I feel bring so much value into this culture, and to create this platform to really get the word out there and give them an opportunity to talk about the things that they're contributing to the community. And right now, Javi has this thing called the master plan. And we got in this little discussion. I put the little clip on our Skool community of I won't say because there's children around, but it's like your guard, the guard is trash. I'll just say it that way. And I'm
I wouldn't say
butchering
it
it.
that way.
No, I know. I'm just butchering it and putting a little hyperbole behind it. But it's really mind-bending because at the end of the day, the guard is not what you think it is really the essence of the
Mhm.
message. And with that, Javi, the floor is yours, my friend. And thanks for making it, man, and thanks for surviving. Right.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say that the guard is trash, right? What I will say is that I think that since we all started doing this, I think that there's been a high emphasis and priority in the guard position, like it's going to save you from all of the things. The name itself is, something like a shield, right? A guard. So I think that whenever somebody's on the bottom, whether you're mounted or whether you're side mounted, or even if you're defending an arm lock, I think a lot of times what people think is I just got to get to my guard and I'll be safe. That's why I tell uh, Jim that I call guard the illusion of salvation. Right, a lot of people think that that's what's going to save them. They're tired, they're getting crushed, they're working very hard. They feel that whatever's going on is not sustainable, and if they can just get to guard, they'll be safe. And what I'm discovering is that okay, I mean, it can buy you a little bit of time, but if the person on top understands how to maintain constant pressure, not just with weight, but with positional adjustments, that the guard doesn't really let you rest, and you're not in really a position to rest if the person on top understands how to neutralize it and then how to bypass the legs. And then once you bypass the legs and you're in side mount, understanding that getting the person back to guard should be so difficult, and based on angle it can be very difficult, that it's almost like you don't even want to work towards it because you understand how much effort it's going to take to reach it. And even if you do reach it, the guy can just bypass the legs again. So it drew a bit of a problem in my mind because I'm like, okay, well, then what? Like, what are we supposed to do at that point? If we're in side mount and we can't get to guard, guard is not achievable. What is the result? The result generally, and I'm looking at behavior, is that the person starts to turn to turtle. And then I say, control the twisting transition to turtle so that by the time the guy goes to turtle, you're able to trap their arm and attack their neck. That's kind of like the whole idea of the master plan is, listen, I've devised a route where I can bypass people's legs pretty reliably, pretty consistently, which makes the person on the bottom work very, very hard to where when you get to side mount, we can create enough of a panic where the person decides to turn to turtle. And then once they turn to turtle, in the process of them turning, I trap their arm and attack their neck. It's a pretty basic strategy because if, I mean, you could tap people from side mount. That's not a problem if you can tap people from side mount. I don't have a problem with that. But what I'm saying is let's eliminate the legs. Let's eliminate the option of the legs. That's why I say it's an illusion. Like the legs are going to save you when in reality, not really. If you understand the bypassing process, guard is not really there. So it's only an illusion in the person's mind that they're going to be able to achieve the guard and be functional with it. Because even achieving it or getting your knee across the belly doesn't mean that it's functional. It doesn't mean that the pressure is coming off or that you're not working harder. So, so I feel that jujitsu's primary focus has been the legs, the legs, the legs. The legs are what you pass. The legs are what you sweep with. The legs are what you attack with. The legs are the problem. The legs are legs. So we develop all these years of training. And where do we spend the vast majority of our training time is dealing with people's legs, bypassing them or using them to get some sort of guard retention or using the legs in order to formulate some sort of an attack to generate, or cause some sort of maybe a bottom to top transition or possibly some sort of a submission. So what I'm saying is that if you understand how to bypass the legs, there is no guard. And that's where I think we kind of left off.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, so you were talking about a sequence. Oh, what happened to my camera here? But you were talking about a sequence where you don't. I don't want to misrepresent you, but as you said, the guard doesn't exist.
It
Can
doesn't
you
exist.
yeah, explain that because that's
In order for a guard to exist, your legs have to be encompassed in the entanglement. What if there's okay, so person's legs are here, their head is up here, right? You guys follow me? Their legs are down here.
Mhm.
You have 180 degrees where if you're facing the legs, you're facing this direction. You have 180 degrees where the opponent on the bottom has the most amount of ability in order to defend themselves. They have their hands and they have their legs. So you have 4 points of connection in order to stop it, right? With this 180 degrees. What I'm saying is that this 180 degrees puts you so far away from the person's legs that they're not functional. And I'm not talking about directly from this north-south angle, but when you place yourself over their shoulder, so if the person's shoulder is here, and I basically keep my knees on either side of their shoulder, their legs, it's so far for the legs to come this way to invert and come. I'm not saying that they can't get there, but you're forcing the body to be as tight as possible. And depending on the person's flexibility, and even if they're super flexible, there is a point where the knee hits the chest and then they can't go any further. So I'm not working from this 180. When I pass here, my focus is to work from this 180. Basically, I call it the unattainable 45. So there's an unattainable 45 on this side, and there's one on this side on the other side of the head. It is so hard. It's unattainable because when you understand how to stop it, there is no guard. The guard doesn't, it's not possible for you to attain it because I'm so far away from it. So what happens, because you can sit there and keep trying to fight to guard, And the battle itself is so labor intensive for the guy on the bottom. Let's think about it. You have to engage your abs, you have to engage your hips, you have to engage your hamstrings, you have to engage your everything is when you're starting to breathe in, everything tenses in the body. And then I keep you there. I let you fight from there the whole time. And I create a twisting transition, which forces you to have to twist in order to stay face from me, or you turn away from me. Now, why do I want you to turn away? Because it is easier for me to fight you if I'm behind you. If I'm facing you and we're chest to chest, obviously that's harder to deal with for me than if you turn your back. Think about it. Your hands are not behind you, they're in front of you. So, from a global perspective, it makes more sense to get people to turn their back. Now, not only are we landing chest to back, right? I say chest to back. And either the hooks are in or they're not. But I'm not saying it's not just a matter of landing there, it's that the journey to get there, making that journey as difficult as possible for the recipient, that by the time they get there, they're exhausted. By the time they get there, they're frustrated. By the time they get there, they're carrying so much weight and they're working so hard that trapping the arm and attacking the neck becomes very easy, because once I start getting you a little bit tired, once you're frustrated, and you got to remember the mental state, the journey in your mind that I put you through from the time I touch your legs and guard when I get you to turn, that journey is so difficult that you are happy to turn your back. So I call it common goal cooperation. I want you to turn your back. You want to turn your back. So we're in agreement, right? We're in agreement. I want you to turn. I'd create an environment that's so difficult for you to remain in the side mount because there is no guard. That's what you guys aren't getting. There is no guard. When you work from particular angles, the guard is not achievable and there is no guard. So then the only thing that's left is the person turning from chest up to chest down. That's it. So I look at it from this perspective. I call it a global perspective. That I'm going to put it. I'll put it up. I'll send it to Jim. Do you want me to send it to you now? I can send it to you. It is the artwork of my entire martial art, and it comes in one basic graphic. I look at the world. The second I look at the world through this lens, everything changed because it makes things so much easier. When you are concerned with learning a bunch of moves, this is the periphery of what jiu-jitsu is. These are the options that are available. But I believe that there should be a central path that people are following because it's more consistent, it's more effective, it's more efficient. It makes more practical sense. This idea that you have all of these options are just figments of your imagination, because when you attack a particular thing, I say, why are you attacking that particular thing? Is it because it's easy to do? Is it because you get a high level of results? Or is it just because you thought it was a cool move and you were to do it? And I think that's the trap that a lot of people fall into, is that they learn all these moves because they think they're cool. But when the rubber meets the road, what works? I say the central path works against you, against anybody. You put me against anybody, I follow the central path, and 90% of the time, whoever's in front of me, I'm going to beat them. The vast majority of the time, because the fundamentals are so solid, because I'm not looking at the world through a lens of moves. I'm looking through the world through the lens of chest to chest. What can you do to me chest to chest? What can you do to me chest to back? Where do I prefer you being? And then how do I maximize the finishing opportunities?
So, do you have the graph? Do you have the graph?
Yeah,
I'll see if I can bring it up on screen, and then you can kind of give a little bit of visual.
I'll text it to you.
Yeah, text it to me, and then I'll see if I can pull it up, and then we can put it up on screen for you.
Then you can even send it on the chat even.
I kind of came up with it, just kind of finished it. I mean, it's been done, but really, like, I haven't kind of put it in a place where I'm seeing it all the time. I was only seeing it up here, but And I've been fiddle faddling with the kind of the way it looks and stuff. So this is, did I send it to you? Did you get it?
Yeah, I got it. I got it. So let me see if I can bring it up on screen here. Give me a sec.
So, I mean, when you say like the guard doesn't exist, right? And so that goes to, I guess, I'm sure you're familiar with the, I guess, the stages 1, 2, 3, and 4, that where there's the open guard, then there's the closed guard and all that.
Yeah,
Because I find it most difficult with those super flex. I know you mentioned that super flexible guys that, like,
doesn't
even
matter.
when you're mounted, they throw the leg over and still.
Do you want to get into mount?
Well, I'm just saying, like, when I'm like mounted on those super flexible guys, and they can still throw that leg in front of me, and try to go for a leg lock or something. Which, so
Well, I do you want to talk about mount?
sure, yeah, I'm trying to absorb everything.
Okay. So this is how the simplification of this process. Look at, can you guys see the screen there?
Yeah,
This is how I view the world. Standing. Okay, I'm not even going to talk about standing. So if you really look at it, you're only dealing with three positions: chested back, chest to chest, and supplemental. Okay, those are the three main ones that you're really looking at. Now, supplemental, the difference between chest to back and chest to chest, those are kind of linked together. The difference between those two and supplemental is that the control changes. The primary method of control changes. When you're dealing with chest to back or chest to chest, the primary focus on control is the chest to chest connection or the chest to back connection, and then your arms holding on. So you're controlling the person by using your arms and the connection between your chest, your hands and your chest. Do the primary amount of control. When you go to a supplemental position, that primary control transfers from the chest and the arms, which are more secure, to your legs. So what controls in leg locks? Your legs are the primary source of control. What controls the arm lock position? The legs are what control that position. So I consider supplemental positions secondary in the level of importance. So I'm not teaching beginners leg locks. I mean, I teach them everything, but if I was to teach somebody the system, we start from side mount. We don't start from leg locks or arm locks, because now you're, instead of focusing on the primary source of control, which is the chest and the arms, now you're fiddle faddling and engaging the legs and adding transitions, which complicate the learning process. We'll get to those here in a minute. I spent quite a bit of time on those, but that's not the focal point. So look how we're narrowing things down. So we're dealing with chest to back and chest to chest. Now, I will say this about chest to back and supplemental. They are what I call final destinations or finishing destinations. So when I take your back, chest to back, it's a finishing. I'm not trying to get there to get somewhere else. I'm trying to get there to get to your neck. It's a finishing destination. When I get to a leg lock position, it's a finishing destination. You're generally not getting to a leg lock to get to somewhere else. You're usually getting there to try to either get on top, or B, you're trying to finish. Same thing with arm locks. When you get to an arm lock, what are you going to use the arm lock to transition to somewhere else? No, you're going to try to finish the arm lock, right? So chest to back, just like chest to back and chest to chest are linked, chest to back and supplemental are linked under the global perspective of their finishing destinations. So now supplementals. So now we're narrowing it down to chest to back and chest to chest. So chest to back, I look at chest to back as my primary finishing position, core ground positions. This graphic that I have here, if you look at standing, chest to back, chest to chest, and supplemental, I call those core positions. The bottom three core ground positions. Okay, so when I'm dealing with these core ground positions, there's a hierarchy of importance. I think chest to chest is where you have the most amount of complexity. It has 6 chapters: guard, side mount, and mount. That's where you're dealing with most of the problems, is from guard, side mount, and mount. Side mount is the central hub. That's where we want to spring off to. From side mount, we can go to the legs. From side mount, we can go to the arms. From side mount, we can go to the back. Side mount, we can go to the mount. Side mount is Dallas Fort Worth. Everybody flies into side mount, and then from side mount, we transition to wherever we're going. Okay, so that simplifies the position. So now we have a number one most important position, side mount. So we should be spending a ton of our time, a vast majority of our time, in side mount. Why? Because the guard is only functional if the legs are involved in the guard. If I'm able to bypass your legs, which I will, the legs aren't going to be involved. What does that leave you? Out of all of those positions, what positions does that leave you with? Side mount. So the focus in jiu-jitsu, yes, there needs to be a focus in the guard. Yes, passing, using the guard. Yes, but the primary position is side mount. Because if all else fails and people pass your guard, they're going to get to side mount. From side mount, they can go to mount. From side mount, you can turn and you can give them the back or turtle. From side mount, you can go after an arm lock. From side mount, you can go after a leg lock. So understanding how to battle from side mount is incredibly valuable. Now, how do we get consistent results? How are we able to sustain the weight? What are we trying to fight? What battles are we choosing to fight, and which ones are not? So now side mount becomes a whole lot different. There's a whole lot of importance in side mount. And when you understand how to fight from side mount, that is the start of you learning how to fight on the ground. Of course, you can use the guard, but one last thing about the guard. The guard is not economical. It's not economical. If my legs are wrapped around the body, it takes a certain amount of effort in order for you to sustain the pressure. Cross your feet around somebody's waist, what's working? Your abs, your hips, your glutes, your leg, everything's working. 50% minimum, maybe even 60 or 70% of your body, the muscles in your body, have to be engaged in order for the position to be even working. Now, the legs are used in 2 different ways, well, 3 different ways, but 2 in this kind of realm. One is around the waist, where you're having to control the upper body with your hands, and 2, when your legs are over one over, one under, triangle position. Either one of those, you're having to engage in order to just hold the position. I'm not saying they don't work. I'm not saying that you can't work from it. I'm not saying it's not super functional. But what I am saying is that it takes a lot more energy to beat somebody from the bottom than it does from the top. Just with gravity. Gravity shifts the tension. In order for me to generate tension from the bottom, I have to sustain their tension and then generate my own. I'm not saying it's impossible, but no matter what, I'm having to sustain their tension. Does that make sense? So when you're on the bottom using the guard, when you cross your feet, I got a great triangle. You get to the head and arm position. There's a certain amount of tension that has to happen in order for you to hold it. And if a guy understands the angle on how to stop it, it makes things much harder to finish. So then you're having to work so hard in order to get the submission to work that you just like, man, I don't even want to go to that anymore. So then it started to click in my mind. I'm like, I don't even want to go for triangles anymore, because I showed my students how to stop it. So then everybody's doing it to me. I'm like, I don't even want to do it. It's too much work for me to do it. So that's when I started to realize that the guard has its value, but it's not attacking submissions. The value of the guard, at least my guard, is the fact that I want to transition, couple things. I want to transition, the primary being from bottom to top. I want to go from bottom to top. That's my primary. It's not submitting people. It's the transition. Now, how do we go from bottom to top? Everybody says sweeps. I say, yes, sweeps is a way to go from bottom to top. I say that's a very narrow band of information, and people can stop you from sweeping. They can back out. The other thing I'm trying to do from the bottom is not just go from bottom to top, but it's getting them to back off of me. I call it repellent behavior. So I want you to get off of me. You want to get off of me. That is a form of common goal cooperation. So I'm using a Jedi mind trick to get you off of me, which is exactly what I want. And you're getting off of me. I'm not pushing you off of me. You're getting off of me on your own, which is more economical. So besides sweeps, what do I use? I say sweeps, guillotines, reverse arm locks, super kimuras or kimuras, drags. So I use a toolbox of techniques to transition from bottom to top. Once I get on top, everything changes. Now I'm able to neutralize through splitting and passing, and eventually I'm going to bypass your legs, which lands us back in side mount. Now, it's very difficult to go from side mount to side mount, but it is more economical to go from guard, from bottom to top guard, and then work from there. Or I can go from bottom to turtle, and then if I go to turtle, I stand up. The other thing that this has made me realize, the lack of effectiveness of the guard has made me realize, is that turtle is a very valuable position. Turtle is the middle position between side mount and standing. It's the middle position. How do you stand up when you're on your back? You got to turn to turtle, and then you stand up. You can't go from side mount to standing. It doesn't work. You have to turn somehow to your knees in order to stand up. I call it building mechanics, right? But just like you can build the mechanics, you can crumble the mechanics and pull them back down. So this idea of preventing them from getting up and then fighting to get up, again, starts to generate fatigue, which by the time you get to turtle, I trap your arm and attack your neck. I make the battle itself to get to these key positions from side mount to turtle, and then I finish you from turtle. And then I know that from turtle, your next step is to go back up. Can you go from turtle to guard? Yes, but then you fall, you're still on the bottom. And then I just bypass your legs again, which puts us back in side mount. And then the process starts all over again. Now what are you going to do? From side mount, what are you going to try to do? If you can't get me in the guard, you're going to turn to turtle. So it creates this, I call it a baking pattern. So because I created this pattern, it kind of leaves the guard out of it. It doesn't include the guard. The pattern is restricted to side mount and turtle. I'm saying the twisting transition between side mount and turtle is my primary focus. Why? Because I want him to turn away from me. So as hard as you're working to turn to turtle, it is exactly what I want you to do, because I know that guard is an illusion. You don't know it's an illusion. So in your mind, you're going through this turmoil and you're just desperate to get to turtle, which is exactly where I wanted you in the first place. So this is kind of why I'm saying the guard is not as, we've been sold a false goods, because we've been told that guard is this big solution. And I'm not saying, I'm going to pass everybody's guard. I'm going to pass the vast majority. And I don't care how flexible they are, because the way I'm doing it is based on basic mechanics. It doesn't matter how flexible you are. It's only the problem if you engage in what you want to engage in. The only reason it's a problem is because people engage in the manner that the person defending wants the engagement to go. I don't engage in that battle. I change the battle. I make the battle about the twisting transition and the bypassing of the legs. And people think, oh, pressure on top, you got to drop and hold. That is one form of it, but it's not the only form of it.
So I have a question, two questions, a little bit different. One is, and one is from working from the guard, where you're saying you're trying to get to their back. But I didn't hear you say attacks as an option. What's your philosophy on attacks from the guard, and then on
I'm attacking a reverse armbar. I'm attacking a guillotine. I'm attacking an omoplata. I am attacking things that make you want to roll. So I'm not sweeping you with resistance. You're happy to go. You're wanting to roll. I want you to roll. You want to roll. Common goal cooperation. You have to use a Jedi mind trick to get people to do what you want them to do rather than do it through force. You're much more willing to do certain things if you feel like it's going to preserve you from danger. The danger that I cause through my attacks, which are incredibly effective and efficient. What happens if you don't defend? I'm not going to defend. Then you get caught. I'll catch you with the guillotine. It is a secondary reaction. I am generating the rolling behavior through the guillotine, through the reverse armbar, through the omoplata, through the sweeps, through the drags. I have this arsenal of techniques just to get you to go from bottom to top. Because it's way easier taking that amount of energy. Let's say that that's 10 points of energy to get you from bottom to top. If I take that same 10 points of energy and try to finish somebody from my guard, results will vary. Whereas if I get on top, it doesn't really matter how I get on top, but just so long as I get on top, I'm on top. Everything changes, perspective changes, life changes, the pressure changes, everything changes. So people have this limiting mindset that they have to sweep in order to go from bottom to top. That's every time I would ask the question, everybody says the same thing, sweeps. I go, what else? I don't know what else. I don't know what else. I go, how about drags? Yeah, you can drag. How about guillotines? Yeah, guillotines. How about reverse armbars? Oh, how about wrist locks? They all make the person roll. So why aren't we incorporating that? Which leads me back to the major problem that I have and the reason that I'm here. That we have been rewarded thinking that sweeps is the only way to do it. Why? The points. You don't get any points for going bottom to top. You only get points through sweeps. So then you're limited to only sweeping people, even though it works against your interest to do so. You know as well as I know that you have a hard scramble. Put it this way. The traditional path, I call this the traditional path. Takedown is how many points? Pass the guard is how many points? Mount is how many points? Back is how many points? How many points is that total? Total. 4 and 4 is 8, plus 3 is 11, right?
Thank you for the quick math, 13.
Okay. Now watch my math. Watch my math. You guys ready? I'm going to snap you down to turtle, trap your arm, and choke you out. How many points did I score?
1,000.
0. Which one works better? Which one's more economical? Which one's more efficient? It's all bullshit.
Yeah, shout out to Hedon. I heard him say that one time because someone brought up, well, isn't a sweep worth 2 points? He's all submissions are worth 1,000. So I kind of adopted.
I'm going to roll with you. You're going to dominate. I'm going to let every one of you guys pass my guard. You're going to be you're going to be on top of me the whole time. When there's going to be a certain amount of time left, I'm going to jump on your back. I'm going to trap your arm and attack your neck, and you're going to tap. Boom. Timer goes off. You're going to remember what? All the time you were on top, or the fact that you got caught?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter unless you're making the person tap. So all that matters.
So that goes into, okay, it's slightly different, but it still piggybacks off of what you were saying previously about the guard and your philosophy on attacking the guard. Like it's a universally accepted idea that you attack the legs to get around the bar. You have to get around the legs, so therefore you attack the legs to defeat a guard.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying this for a long time. People tell me, and you guys all wear a gi or no?
I'm amphibious. Either way,
Okay.
either way.
I say, and I discovered this many years ago, I say Spider Guard is not real. It's an illusion. I've been saying it for a long time. I've been saying it for about 15, 20 years now. It's an illusion. The only way Spider Guard works, this whole game. Now think of how many moves there are from Spider Guard. There's people DVD after DVD after DVD after DVD. The guy's wearing a gi. If Spider Guard only works if they grab the pants. If you grab the pants, boom, the foot comes in, all your problems start in life. I say grab the tops of the toes. There's no sweeps. There's no Spider Guard. There's no submission. There's no armbar. There's no triangle. There's no nothing. The only way something works is if my behavior makes it happen. I can change my behavior, and then it does not exist. In my reality, Spider Guard does not exist. Let's say a guy puts me in Spider Guard. Do you think I know how to stop it? Or do you think that's all we did was learn how to stop it? So if you never see it, do you think that the one time you see it, you're not going to be able to stop it? You're going to be like, oh, I know how to stop it and control it. I might get put in it initially, maybe out of surprise, maybe because I was experimenting or whatever the case may be. But once I see that that's what you're going for, you'll never get it because it's too easy to stop. So all these people that are super great Spider Guard player, and it's not even practical. It's not even practical. If you can grab the sleeves, the guy can still punch you. I'm not saying it doesn't hinder the punching, but you have a better chance of stopping guys from hitting you if you control their arms and their hands than if you're relying on the cloth because it rips, because it moves, because it's inconsistent. Guys aren't wearing gis. Things you grab something, it tears. It's inconsistent. It's not practical for realistic applications. So, and it tears up your fingers. It tears up your fingers. I don't even grab people's gis. I might grab the collar here and there when I train with the gi in the winter, but aside from that, nah, it's too easy. I just grab your feet. It stops all the problems. Why am I going to change what I'm doing? Makes no sense. Makes no sense. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. I just think, look at that chart. It simplifies everything. It takes away. Do you guys want to see what the chart originally started like? That's what we got it down from. Let me show you what it looked like initially. And then as the years went on, I simplified and simplified and simplified. And I'm like, this is what it started off looking like. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Version 1. Version 2, bam, and then version 3, and then version 3 and version 4 are just look a little bit different. But
these are pretty amazing what you're about to see. I love this part.
Boom.
So while Jav's pulling that up, we'll begin to wind down. So if anyone has any questions, we'll go ahead and open the floor up for any kind of questions. And then Javi, I'll let you close out with talking a bit about the master plan in general and what you have going on. And because you have a lot of this, I don't think all of it, but you have a lot of it posted online, right?
It's getting there. It's getting there. I don't think people are ready for what's coming. I just don't. Like I honestly don't think when you see it, you can't unsee it. When you see it, you can't unsee it. It's taken me, I started the master plan in 2011. I wrote 16 books. And this is like kind of the result of those books is this illustration. Everything green was a move. And then I would cluster things together, moves that went together. And every center was blue, and that's a particular position, right? Like side mount top or side mount bottom. So everything, I kind of organized it like that. So then the second one, I started to version 2.0. I started to get some cohesiveness. So then I'm like, okay, I'll group it together. And then, no, not that one, the next one.
Yeah, let me pull it up, see if I can. Nope, not that one. Stand by. Pull it up.
So the second one, I kind of put them together in a circle, and I'm like, hey, it's a circle, it's a cycle, things flow off of each other. And that was kind of like, I saw it, I could see it clearly in my head, but then when I would present it to people, people's heads were like, oh my God, this is too much. And then the books were like 2,500 pages. There were 16 books, everything broken up into chapters. And that was when I wrote the books, is when I started to go, okay, well, not all of these moves, where do we start? This is the second one, right? I go, where do we start? How do we organize this, right? And I'm like, okay, so you can see that they're all individual islands, and each individual island was a positional or perspective. So I'm like, yeah, people are still looking at me like, nope, that doesn't do it for me. But all the moves are good. Can't you see it? And it was like the Matrix code, right? Like you're just looking at the code. And then we went on to the third one, which really the third one was, when I looked at when I looked at it, this is when God's intervention. Like, notice that all this was before God's intervention into my life. So everything was kind of confusing, even though it wasn't confusing to me. So then we went on to version 3, which version 3, it has a mindset in the middle. So it's a way of thinking in the middle. And then through that lens, we look at each individual position. Do you have the third one? It looks like a flower, kind of.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So it says where we arrived, right?
What's that?
Is it the where we arrived one?
Yeah, where we arrived.
Okay. Yeah. Pulling that up. Give me a second here. A lot of buttons to push. Here we go. Where we arrived. There we go.
So this is really where things started to change. So if you notice, everything is color coordinated. So each chapter has its own color. If you look at it from the center, it's the thinking. It's the thinking of JVOS, which is the original program I came up with. It's like 7 hours, and I kind of break down a different way to look at the jiu-jitsu and look at the thinking. And I give examples from positions of concepts and terms, right? And then it looked good. It looks nice. I like this one. I actually think that this one is probably the coolest looking one. But again, there's a lot going on there. You just have to go through it. It still looks a bit complicated. And then we came to that final one, which is the first one I sent you, which is do that third one, just core ground positions.
Oh yeah, let me see if that one. Yep.
No, not that one. The one that just has chest to chest, chest to back, and supplemental.
Oh wait. Yeah, that was the first one you sent.
It's basically that one minus the standing, right? It's basically that one minus. So if you just cover over the standing portion, it's chest to chest, chest to back, and supplemental. So it was simplifying. So what is my core? What am I starting with? What is the beginning of my curriculum?
Oh, there it is. There it is.
That one right there. Yeah. What is so when you look at jiu-jitsu and you just look at it through that lens, it's a lot easier to absorb it through this lens than it is through that first one. So because you guys have to go through your mind and remember all the steps on all of these moves, it makes your mind have to process too much information, and then the information is lost and the timing is lost because you have to process all this information. So it takes everybody years, 10, 15, 20 years to learn jiu-jitsu, which takes too long. So the way I'm doing it is I'm trying to expedite the learning of jiu-jitsu. I call it rapid skill development. So I'm trying to figure out, or I have figured out a way to teach jiu-jitsu in a way where you get good really fast. So if you roll with the guy who's been at my academy a year, they're like, bro, this guy's pretty good for rolling for a year. If you go roll with the guy that's been there 2 years, they got it. At the 2-year mark, what starts happening, which is a big surprise to me, is that because of the way I teach you how to think initially, because of the new framework in which I kind of present the material, it makes people at the 2-year mark, it's a self-correcting system. So when they encounter problems, they're able to go through the problem and understand where the mistake was made, and they fix their own problems. I don't even have to fix it for them anymore. People will tell me, oh, I discovered this off of that. Yeah, off of the central path, you're going to discover things that I've already discovered and I've already laid out. So I look at the my primary attack strategy, which is the central path, and then I have a secondary and supplemental attack strategies. Just like the positions have primary, secondary, and supplemental, the attack strategies and the moves that I am choosing, the choices I am making, the battles I am choosing have a bigger strategical advantage in the long run. So the behavior that I am teaching you, I call it default behavior. I'm teaching you to behave in a particular way, which is more economical, which makes more sense, which makes you make wiser choices, which gives you a consistency in your results.
Quick question. Now, is this is a universal pathway, like for strikes and without and non-strikes, or is this non-strikes?
The behavior itself was always rooted from a strike-based perspective. So whether I'm rolling with or without strikes, I'm playing the exact same game. I don't have to change anything, because Jiu-Jitsu's biggest flaw, the thing that we have been sold the false goods on, is the importance of the legs. I'm saying my primary focus is not the legs as the primary body part that's encompassing all of the problems and giving all the problems and defending all the problems. My primary control are the hands. So I fight your hands from every position. I'm not fighting your legs from every position. So how I fight your hands starts to develop a timeline of events, which is predictable, because I know how you're going to react long before you know how to react, because you're still thinking in a framework of moves. I'm thinking of framework of control your hands, I control your life. So unless you're better at hand control than I am, you're not winning.
I just wanted to go over the how it started. I want people to just really understand what this is. You see a bunch of dots, but if we zoom in a little bit, you understand that. So here's the master plan, what he's talking about. But all of these little galaxies, whoops, wrong one. All these little galaxies, they're all chapters, and they're all sequences of different positioning and moves and options with every position. So just to give you an idea of what, the premise of this master system, those are all flow charts from each and every major position, and then the nuances in between. So it's pretty gnarly what Hav has going on here.
So the lens of JVOS filters out the nonsense and brings the cream to the top. That's what I did. That's what happened. Because when I got all the information, I wouldn't even look at the moves. I would look at the table of contents, which gives me a global perspective of what I'm looking at. It makes it easier. I just had to write everything down. I got to get the whole map on the table in order for me to see what we're doing. And then the amount of time I put in the amount of time I put in each position, the hours in each perspective that I have spent have let me know what works and what doesn't. It's like I know if you play against me in Monopoly, I'm going to win, because I know which properties are good and you don't. So that's that. So because I played Monopoly so many times and I looked at the probability of where things were landing, win or lose, I knew that how people were losing. And I knew the probability of how often the dice were being rolled. I'm not saying I'm going to win every single time, no matter what. But because I know what I know, I'm going to win far more than I lose.
Yeah, you position yourself for success. Yeah,
exact same in Jiu-Jitsu. I know the battles that I'm going to win most frequently, and I force you to fight those battles, because if you don't fight those battles, I just beat you. I just go through you. You have to address the battles because of the way I'm fighting you.
So with all that, I think now's a good opportunity, because you downloaded a lot of information. That was like some Eric Paul stuff where it's just a fire hydrant information, right? But so right now, I'll just briefly open the floor up if anyone has any questions on anything, and then if there are no questions, we'll just go ahead and let Javi close out on, where you can find it, more information on the master plan. So if anyone have any questions they want to ask Jav while we have them. Well, outstanding. If there are no questions to be asked, I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot of information, a lot of especially new concepts, unconventional concepts.
Does it sound crazy, or does it sound like it's just a lot to say?
Well, it's unique, and yeah, sure. That crazy and genius is right there, right? So
I think it's simplified, and I like that about it. And you have like concepts like what did you call it? Common goal?
Common goal cooperation. We have a common goal,
Yeah.
and you're cooperating.
Which is like me, I can't take it anymore, so I'm like giving up my back.
You're going to be excited to do what I want you to do. You're going to be so happy. That's how you got to make them feel. Think about that. They're making the opponent feel like they need to do exactly what you want them to do.
So
based on your behavior.
So one way to get that is like if I'm on bottom trying to get for a guillotine. So if I'm like squeezing his neck, he's like, I want to back off from there.
That's a form of repellent behavior repellent behavior and common goal cooperation kind of are I'm not sure if I have, I explain all this stuff in the lectures on my YouTube channel. If you go lecture by lecture, I explain all this stuff with flowcharts and stuff. But yeah, it is a form of it. I don't know if I've released that one yet or not, but I think I've done the presentation on it. Repellent behavior is a form of common goal cooperation.
So if someone new comes into your academy, what are you teaching them? You're not really teaching moves, right?
They have to catch up. I break it up into positional chapters, right, or perspective. So I teach jiu-jitsu on a cycle. We go through every perspective, top and then bottom. So if you come in on the top week, I'm going to show you I show you from that perspective how to attack properly from the top, and then it puts the guy on the bottom. You're going to have to understand how to defend that. So when you understand how to defend it, I teach that the second week. So I teach the offense the first week, the defense the next week. Then I change the position, do the offense the first week, defense the second week. There's a best way to attack and there's a best way to defend. And when you go through the cycle lasts about 4 months. By the second time that they see the cycle, they're way better. Way better. By the third time they see the cycle, now they're starting to figure it out. By the fourth time they do the cycle, and every time we delve into, I call them positional deep dives, right? So we're deep diving into the position, but there's a central path initially. And because we're working from the central path first, and we're attacking from the central path, we have to learn how to defend the central path first. The secret to fighting is hand control. It's hand control. It's understanding how to fight people's hands, and it stops everything. Why? Because 95% of the problems you're going to give me in grappling, you're going to be using your hands. That's why I say my focus is the hands and their focus is the feet. So
that's kind of where I was going towards with how you approach attacking the guard. You're focusing on the hands, right?
Right. Why do I attack the hands? Because if I can twist your arm, what are you going to do?
You're going to turn.
So my objectives is different. That's why I have a different result. I'm not trying to tap people from my guard. Do I tap people from my guard?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But am I trying to tap people from my guard? Or am I trying to go from bottom to top?
You try to go from bottom to top.
What's that?
Right.
You try to go from bottom to top. And the submission just happens because they didn't want to go to bottom.
Even if, let's say I start transitioning from bottom to top and the guy starts to defend, it's easier to catch a submission just because of the process of going bottom to top opens up secondary opportunities rather than you trying to attack things and then they defend the attack. You have to create something here so that they look over here so you can do something over here. It is
Like
much
that.
easier to do that than it is to attack with a direct assault. My direct assault is good enough to start to generate the timeline. I generate timelines. I know where we're going. Once I get to certain checkpoints, I know I'm going to hit the next checkpoint. I have the timeline. I have it down frame by frame, adjustment by adjustment, inch by inch. Every adjustment is broken down. And I have little checkpoints along the way where I know exactly how I'm going to win. Every time. It's super predictable. Everything's systemized.
I have one more question. So it was common goal cooperation, right? Was the concept. So what are some situations where this happens?
Common goal cooperation.
Yes.
Anytime that I can get you to roll from bottom to top, if I'm in side mount and I'm able to get you to want to get off of me.
Yeah.
If I'm in guard and my punch defense is so good that you can't hit me, then what do? You back up.
Yeah.
Those are all repellent behavior. That's what made my guard dangerous. People weren't sitting in my guard, homie. Nobody was sitting in my guard. I was too good at attacking, so everybody backed away. Great. You're backing away from me. Now I don't have to push you away from me. Then I fill the space and I get up. It's much easier for me to get up when you're up. It's much harder for me to get up when you're down. So I behave in a way which makes you want to get up. The danger that I produce from the bottom makes you want to get up.
And you do this with your hands. You're not using your legs.
Depends on the position.
Depends on the position.
Of course. I can't use my legs as much from side mount as I can from guard.
Yeah.
Certain guards are better than others. You got to know which ones are stronger than others.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think that guard is just this general term. No, there's small little pockets of guard that are better than others. Let me ask you a question. Let's say you're in half guard. Guy's got the arm around the neck and the arm under your armpit. But you have a standard half guard or you have a half guard with a butterfly hook. Which one's better to work from?
With the butterfly hook.
So why are we trying to work from half guard? Why aren't we trying to fight to get the butterfly hook in to make our lives easier? These are the kinds of decisions that if you know them, it's obvious what you have to do. There is no blinding. How did you know right away that the butterfly hook was better? I didn't have to even tell you that. You already knew. That's what we fight to. Guy passes your guard, has the arm around the neck, arm under the armpit. What are the 3 adjustments that you should be working towards in order to get out? There's only 3. There's 3 first steps. What are they? That change the dynamic of the entire configuration. There's 3 one-step adjustments. I make one adjustment, your life changes. What are those 3?
Get on your side, get the underhook, and block the bicep from your face.
Getting on your side is and getting the underhook. One of those has to happen first.
Get on your side.
I say understanding how to dig an underhook, framing the head, and clearing the arm off your neck. Those 3 first steps start the timeline to work in a particular direction. I dig the underhook. What are you going to do? Switch your hips.
Mm-hmm.
How do I know? My behavior is making your behavior happen. What happens if you don't? I get the underhook and I take your back. My threat is so good that you have to respect that. You're going to switch your hips. So now the configuration changes. Now, when your configuration changes, is my arm better around his neck or in front of his face? The guy sitting on his hip, am I holding onto his neck, or he can lazy boy my arm and pin my arm to the ground? Or is it better if I'm in front of his face where my hands can work as a team?
Right. Frame the face.
So there is a next best step. How do I know that these things are going to happen? How do I know this timeline is going to happen? Because if you don't do what I'm telling you to do, I'm just going to go from bottom to, and things get worse. If I'm on top of you, your life is far harder than if I'm underneath you. I'm not saying that when you're on top of me, it's easy, but it's easier than if I'm on top of you. So this whole idea, like you have all of these options, you don't. You don't. You will realize this. If you watch my material, you will realize this. And you roll with other people that don't know what we're doing. You're going to realize, like, oh my God, it's obvious. The problems are obvious. I've told James this in the past. What I'm doing is going to change jiu-jitsu forever. Because if you don't adjust, you're going to lose to what we're doing. You have to adjust. This is a paradigm shift in jiu-jitsu. Your focus is going to go from people's legs to people's hands. That is a big difference, positionally, strategically, and results-wise. It is changing everything. Your focus goes from the legs to the arms. Completely different focus, which leads to completely different behavior. But there's only one problem. I know that behavior. And if you don't know it, you're behind.
So
I
what
was
I've
thinking
done,
that exact term, paradigm shift. That was exactly
Paradigm shift.
what I was thinking the whole time.
What I am leading is an evolution in jiu-jitsu. That's what's
Yeah.
happening.
And I did have a question, but because as you were describing this system, I oftentimes, I mean, I've been training for, I don't know, about 20 years, and but my guard sucks, right? And I tell people my guard is actually my bottom side mount because I do so much,
You have no
changing a position
choice.
from there. I do it all
You
the
have
time.
no choice. That's
And
right.
so now it kind of makes more sense after listening to you, you know.
It is what is left from bottom.
Right.
It is what is left from bottom. When guard is no longer achievable, you better be good from side mount. Mount
Right.
is secondary. I'm not saying mount doesn't have problems. And I'm not saying I'd rather be mounted than side mounted. It's much better to work from side mount bottom than it is from mount bottom. So the other thing is this. There are two key twisting transitions in jiu-jitsu. Just two. There is a transition from side mount to turtle, and there is a transition from mount to back mount. The bottom leg is the key to stopping and controlling that whole transition. The bottom leg is the key. If you understand how to stop the bottom leg, there is no guard and there is no escaping the mount. There's only turning your back. Which the mount one has just come to me in the past, I don't know, maybe month, 2 months. The side mount one I've known, but the mount one, the new one from mount, how I'm controlling from the mount, takes away your ability to stop what you're doing. Stop what I'm doing. Makes it, you just turn your back. I'm just guiding you to turn. It's a way, a method that I use to help you understand that turning is better than not. I mean, at least you can think that. Make sense?
so what I've done, what's that?
I was going to
okay.
say I'm getting things up on jvjujitsuonline.com. Right now I've got go watch Transitional Wormholes. I just released Transitional Wormholes.
I was going to say, I included the link of jvjujitsuonline.com.
Yeah.
It's in the chat right there. So that's a good link for people to go to right now, right?
Yeah, if you want to get your mind blown to kind of go, whoa, what's he doing? Go to watch Transitional Wormholes. JVOS is out. That's a mindset program. That's like 9 hours. No, excuse me, not 9 hours, 7 hours. The Meat Grinder, which is a side mount fatiguing system. There's 2 seminars that I've taught on that. And then if you want a smaller version of JVOS, there's key principles of JVOS. It's a shorter version of it, kind of, sort of. I did it in a seminar form. I'm going to be releasing the next one after this is going to be basic mechanics. Basic mechanics is going to blow everyone away, just like transitional wormholes is going to blow everybody away. And then I'll probably put out, I think the next thing I'm probably going to film, I mean, I have a bunch of stuff already in the can, but as far as central path stuff, the next one I might have enough stuff. I know I have enough stuff, but I just don't know if I want to seminar it or not. Is the back attack series. My back attack series, nobody, what people are doing now, as far as back attacks, or what I was doing in 2004. That was the old system. It's far more refined now. Far more refined. I've taught multiple seminars on it, or just presentations on it. And
But
when people see it, they've never seen anything like it.
so the central. Oops, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Hoff. Go ahead.
No, I had a guy who's a red belt. Excuse me, red and white belt. Guy's been doing. He comes up to me after. I just met the guy. Comes up to me after. He goes, "I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 50 years. I've never seen technique like this in my life. Sensational." I couldn't believe the guy said it. He was sensational. I was like, wow. From a red and white belt, dude, a guy's been doing jiu-jitsu his whole life. He goes, "I've never seen anything like this."
Hey, was that a Canadian accent?
That was Portuguese, bro. Portuguese.
I'm just messing with you. But everything you're working on, it's all centralized on JV Jiu-Jitsu Online, right? It's not
everything's going to be there. I'm going to make the website like an app. Everything's color coordinated. So everything in blue is side mount top or side mount bottom, but right now it's side mount top. Everything white is JVOS. Everything purple is basic mechanics. So all that stuff, as it's going up, as you see the new colors come up, and then you scroll through, you're going to see how much I have in each particular position, how many systems and everything.
Beautifully put together sites, coming along really nice.
On
YouTube, you drop a lot of stuff on YouTube as well, right?
Yeah, my YouTube channel is JV Jiu-Jitsu. I have a shorts channel, which is at JV Jiu-Jitsu, and I think it's 5391, JV Jiu-Jitsu 5391. It's a number, but if you look up JV Jiu-Jitsu, it'll pop up. And I put, you can go through all the lectures. What I would start with the list of how we got here. I have a bunch of how I learned jiu-jitsu and basically the problem I saw in jiu-jitsu and what approach I'm following in order to change the structure of how jiu-jitsu is taught today. I'm looking at it from a place of effectiveness, not from a place of these are the moves that you need. I don't think it works that way. I think it's too hard to learn it that way. It takes too long. So I look at it as what's the best way to escape the side mount? What's the best way to escape the mount? What's the best way to work from guard? What are we trying to achieve from guard? Central path philosophy is the way I look at it. So I say, what works best? If somebody puts you in an arm lock, what's the first thing you're going to do? What's the best way to work from it? I think it's to scoop the heel. So, that's the primary, right? So there's just certain, I call them universal truths. You can't argue with me about it. So why don't we start with that? Why don't we collect those truths and start with that rather than trying to just piece together a game? The problem with the way it was taught, it puts too much focus on the student. It puts too much emphasis on the student to figure things out rather than me laying out the plan for you and saying, just follow the plan and you're going to have more success.
So what I did, I went ahead and just added your YouTube channel into the link as well. So if anyone wants to go to the little chat section in this Zoom session, you'll have JV Jiu-Jitsu Online. You can just kind of get that into your system, and then Javi's YouTube channel. And then with that, I feel, man, we went over a lot of stuff, and we could wrap things up. And I do want to just encourage people. So we have the Skool platform, and it's for stuff like this to, instead of just kind of bombing on certain topics in these live chat sessions, which we intend to have more of. We're going to start doing these on a regular basis. But the concept that Yusuf and I had is to just bring all these elements together. Follow the chat threads that we have going on the Skool platform, and then keep these discussions going. And Sean, earlier while we were waiting on Hav, you mentioned you were on a podcast. Man, post that in the Skool community. I'd be very interested to see what you had going on that podcast as well. And then, likewise, Latif and I, we have some things coming up that we'll be working on. We'll be sharing on the community. So I encourage everyone to check into the community, and then we'll be sure to give, people like Javi these platforms to get the word out, because I think the mutual agreement that we all have is we love this community, man. We love this community. And I want to really provide an environment to uplift these voices. And like I said, Javi is a treasure, in my opinion. My humble opinion, Javi's a treasure to this community. He's got so much to offer. Just look at that diagram. It's mind blowing, man. It's mind blowing. So
I think God spared my life for a reason. And his influence into my jiu-jitsu has been pretty groundbreaking. And I think he's taught me how to talk to the people in the community. The people in the community are the ones that help save me, So I'm very appreciative to the jiu-jitsu community. And I'm trying to understand how to better communicate with people, because I just kind of do things my own way, and it was overwhelming people, like the way I was kind of doing things before, because I feel like maybe my brain kind of thinks a little bit faster. But I think that simplifying it and consolidating things has made it much easier for everybody, and the results are being proven to me all the time. People are getting good way faster than what they should. And you roll with guys who have been with me for one cycle, and you're like, man, this guy's pretty good for a guy who's been training 3 months or 4 months, And for guys who have been training 2 years, they're hard to tap. They are tough to tap, which is great. That's all I want. That's how it starts. Get them to not get tapped, and then eventually you can start tapping people. Thanks you guys. Thank you guys. Thanks to Jim for inviting me, and I hope you guys liked it.
All right. Thank you, Hav, and thank you, everyone else. Thanks for taking the time out of your weekend to join us. This is our first one ever. So kind of like Javi, I don't know if many of you know, I just found out myself, Javi was the very first athlete inducted into the King of Cage Hall of Fame. And I feel proud to know that Javi was the first one to participate in our very first Skool community.
I've had some first.
Here. Yeah,
I've had some first. Emilio, I'm sorry, I took it from Emilio. I think I took it from Emilio. I was born in Cuba. We immigrated here when I was 4 years old in 1980. And I don't know if anybody who's Cuban born who came from the island and got a black belt before I did. I think I'm the first one. I say it because I don't think there's anybody else. Frank Mir got his black belt after me. He's of Cuban descent. I don't know if he was born there. And then Emilio wasn't born there. So he might, so I was the first one that was actually born in Cuba and got a BJJ black belt. If there's somebody else that's ahead of me, I'd love to meet him, but I don't think there is.
I invited Emilio to this event today. He did not show. He's doing some yourself home project, but he told me, he said his best. He told me to tell you hi. But once again, everyone, thanks for taking the time out of your weekend. And Sean, I encourage you, post that podcast in the Skool community. I'd be very interested to hear it. And man, thank you, everyone. Any parting words before I push the end button on this thing? From anyone? Going once?
Thanks for doing this, guys.
All right, guys.
Man, thank you.
Thank you, Javier.
All right. Take care, everyone. Till next time.
See y'all. Appreciate y'all.
All right.